Hey there! Today let's talk about simple linear equations. And any equation has a variable, and it could be any letter, but the most commonly ones are x, y, and z. So in a linear equation, there's only one variable. And let's use x. And our linear equation could be as simple as x plus 1 equals 2, to as complex as some other examples like 3x squared plus, and stuff like that. And what we're going to talk about is how to solve it. And what the goal is of a linear equation, or of any equation, is to isolate the variable. So for example, let's say I have x plus 2 equals 4. How we solve this is we need to isolate x and find out what x is equal to. So for in this one, we know that's 2 plus 2 equals 4, but we can actually use a method, which is how we isolate it, by negating it. So to move the 2 to the other side, or so we speak, we have to subtract it on both sides. So that's what we would do to subtract it, because then it would be eliminated and the other side would be 2. So we would get x equals 2. So for adding and subtracting, we would just do the opposite operation to get rid of the number and to get the resulting value. What about for multiplication? Well, what we would do is we still have to isolate x, so we would do the opposite. So let's say we're multiplying, well then we would divide to get rid of the extra in front of the x, the coefficient. So for here, we would divide by 2, and we would get x equals 5 over 2, or 2.5. If we were dividing, we have to be very careful that we multiply, not divide. A common mistake is that students will multiply and do 4 divided by 2 equals 2. That doesn't make sense, because if you plug it back in, that means x would be, so 2 over 2 equals 4, which is not true. So we would multiply both sides and multiply by 2 to get rid of the coefficient, and we would get x equals 4 times 2, which is 8. For any equation, we have to know that we can easily check our work, just in case we made a mistake. So for here, we would divide by 3, and we would get x equals 6. And how do we check it? Well, we just plug it back in. So x equals 3, 6. So we just do 3, and the parentheses is where the x was, and if we check it, it's all correct. We can also have multiple variables of the same variable, such as, let's say we have this. So in this equation, we have one variable, but the variable split into multiple mini variables of the same value. So what we need to do is combine like terms. So we need to combine the x's and combine the numbers. So what we would do is subtract 2x on both sides, and you always want x to be positive. So we have 2x equals 10, and we just add this on both sides. We would get 2x equals 15. Then we need to divide on both sides, and we would get x equals 15 divided by 2, which is 7.5. So for these two problems, let's solve the first one. And what we need to do is just combine like terms, and then combine numbers, isolate the variable, and then we would get 0 equals negative 4. Now, you may be wondering, wait, that doesn't equal each other. That's because that means there is no solution. This is a special type, and what this means is that these two variables, or this equation, cannot work because they simply cannot work together. And for the next one, let's try this one out. We would get plus 2, and we would get 7 combined. So we would subtract 7, and let's cross things out. And you'll quickly see that everything cancels out, except this right here. Collectively, if everything cancels out, we have 0 equals 0. 0 equals 0 just means that everything equals each other, which is another way of saying all real solutions. So for here, it's the exact opposite. It would be all real solutions. So we have all real solutions and no solutions. No solution means that they don't equal, and all real solutions mean that they equal. Thank you for watching. This has been Solving Simple Linear Equations by SATFreePractice.com.